Did one of Korea's most loved lip tints secretly torch thousands of lips? Today, I'm breaking down the Rom&nd scandal, the 300-time surge in complaints, the real culprit, and what the brand is doing about it. Plus, how refill packs are changing the way we travel with skincare, the new stat proving Australia's K-beauty obsession, and a clinic matching tip if you're coming to Seoul. Hello and welcome to the Korean Beauty Show podcast. I'm your host, Lauren Lee, K-beauty expert, industry consultant, and founder of Korean beauty brand Jellyco. On today's episode, I want to do a roundup of all of the latest news and current affairs coming in hot from Seoul. And the thing that caught everyone's attention this week was that one of Korea's most popular lip tint brands has been embroiled in a scandal. Rom&nd, one of my favorite brands for lip tints and the brand behind the viral juicy lasting tint, has been forced into damage control after reporting a 300-time spike in customer complaints about lip irritation and in particular cheilitis starting in May 2025. So let me run you through exactly what the brand has said about what has happened before I give you some of my own personal opinions, including my own experience with cheilitis. So what happened was, according to the brand, the complaints that they received to their customer satisfaction line started surging in relation to both dryness, dry lips, and cheilitis. The community in particular was centering a lot of the blame around the dyes that are used in the products, in particular red 201 and 202. But what they ended up doing is working with their lab and manufacturer and sending the products away for third-party testing. And that found no evidence of irritancy caused by the dyes in particular. And the brand was at pains to point out in its communications on Instagram and its official Korean website that those pigments are widely used in global lipsticks. They're not unique to Rom&nd's formulas, and they're actually also approved by the MFDS, which is the regulatory body in Korea, by the FDA in the States, and they are also approved in Europe. So that is to say, these are fairly common dyes that are widely used by a lot of different brands in the global lipstick industry. Rom&nd's focus groups instead pointed to a fast-evaporating setting solvent, similar to like an alcohol flash off, as the more likely culprit for causing the lip dryness. Now, there has been a lot of speculation online, in online forums, communities, threads and whatnot, about what exactly those ingredients could be. People are blaming on a lot of, quite frankly, very common ingredients that, could be the cause for one of these things. So I've seen a lot of debate over what specifically about the formulation or the way that they're making these products has caused this reaction from what are fairly common setting solvents, to be honest. So what they have done, they announced all this pretty much all at once. They have announced Project Zero, and this is their project to basically rebuild their tint formulas without the solvent in question. So they have said that so far they've done 3 rounds of consumer testing with a total of 358 participants. And through that process, they have noticed that the irritation reports have fallen by over 90%. So significant, drastic. While the shine, color payoff, and wear for the products held steady at roughly 70 to 90% of the original. So they're losing a little bit there, but I guess they're thinking that that's worth it if the irritation is so significantly reduced. So this is an interesting case for a couple of reasons. Obviously, we're looking at a case study in brand trust, really, and brand trust that has been shaken and that is under fire. And I think one of the things that stands out for me in this case is the fact that they did not wait for the regulators to act. So the MFDS in Korea, I've spoken about this on the show a few times, they are what I would consider to be quite proactive for a regulator, particularly compared to others that I have dealt with over the years and seen sort of fail to act for a very long time. They tend to jump in fairly quickly. You know, they'll let things go for a little while, but if complaints start stacking up, the MFDS does tend to get on in there. So they actually didn't wait for them to act. They ran their own testing, they acknowledged consumers' concerns, and they've also pivoted their R&D as well. But the other thing that they have announced, which will be relevant for a lot of our listeners, I think, is the fact that they are rolling out the new shades. So what they are doing is essentially having to redo that entire collection. So the Juicy Lasting Tint collection, they are going to start re-rolling it out from early 2026. And what they have said is that because of how many different shades they have, the sheer volume of shades that they have in their range, it's just going to take them a long time to actually match all of those and then get them out to market because of this process that they're going through. So the other footnote to all of this is that they are offering refunds with a proof of purchase and a symptom history, even though they have technically not confirmed that there is an official defect. So that is, in a nutshell, what is going on. This information is available in Korean. I have not seen it in English yet, but it might be by the time this goes sort of public on their official IG account and their website as well. So look, I did a TikTok about this. By the time you see this, it will have been last week. And I sort of just reported on the facts of it. But then I wanted to do a little bit of a follow-up, and that is because anyone that's been listening to this show for a while will probably know that I am a massive Rom&nd fan. In fact, I'm pretty sure I have been quoted more than once saying that the Juicy Lip Tint is one of my favorites, that Fig is my favorite color, and I actually can't tell you how long ago it was that I started using these products. Suffice it to say, the brand launched in 2016, and I reckon I would have been on it like within a couple of years of launching at the latest. Like, I have been a very, very loyal customer to this brand. I've spent a lot of money with them over the years with various different lip tints of theirs, and that is why I had my own, unfortunately, personal experience with cheilitis. And that was one of the reasons that seeing this honestly really shocked me, because I never put two and two together. I am not going to lie. The other thing is, the brand is saying that they've had this huge spike and surge in complaints in 2025. But when I thought back to my own experience, I actually experienced a really terrible bout of cheilitis a lot earlier than that. Mine was definitely in 2022, and I have a couple of points in my memory that I can tie that to. And then when I went and looked at the photos, boom, bang, Bob's your uncle. Yes, I was right. 2022 definitely had it on and off for a long time. It's really obvious in the photos I took at my host sister's wedding when I was in Italy in 2022. The worst one for me, the worst bout that caused me pretty serious distress, was in 2023, actually. And the reason I can tie that specifically to 2023 was because it was the year that we launched our gelato glazed lip mask. And we were obviously testing it years before that. However, we had planned 2 launch parties that year, one in Seoul and one in Australia. And I have a distinct memory before the one in Australia. The whole time I was in Australia, I had the most terrible bout of cheilitis. I will, if you're watching along on YouTube, I'll put the photos up so that you can see. Like, honestly, my lips look like a hot mess. And it wasn't just my lips, it was above the lips as well. And I remember freaking out. Obviously, we were hosting these parties, and I was like, how can I go to a party for my lip mask and have my lips look like this? Because the thing is, once you get cheilitis, you need medication to treat it. Like, when I was just applying, other products, it doesn't work like that. I, in the end, had to go on an antifungal to get rid of it. Like, it was really, really persistent as well. And the reason I could never tie it to a particular lip tint of mine, number one, I have been using Rom&nd's Juicy Lip Tints, in particular that shade, for so many years. It wasn't like I tried something new and got a reaction to it. The other thing is cheilitis often has a delayed reaction, like a lot of things do. So it's not like you put it on and immediately your lips go dry and manky and you realize that's what it is. And the other thing is, for me in particular, I'm not the kind of person that's necessarily always using the same lip tint over and over again. You know, I'll try different shades, I'll try different products. So it never occurred to me that my old favorite, my trusty faithful, was the product that was giving me all of this trouble. But for 2022 and 2023, on and off, I just kept having bouts of cheilitis, and it was driving me up the frickin' wall. Like, it really, really was. So when I saw their post, I was shocked, because I was like, are you effing kidding me? That's what that was all along. Like, I never, ever, ever did I put the two and two together. And the funny thing is, when I posted this on my TikTok, so many people in the comments had the exact same reaction to me. They were like, what? Is that what that was that whole time? So I think this is a light bulb thing going off. So I know that the brand has talked about this huge spike in complaints starting in May 2025. And I am a little bit curious, to be honest, whether it hasn't been going on a lot longer than that. It's just taken them this long to kind of put two and two together. Who knows? Maybe they've got a whole lot more customers than they used to have. I don't know, but I would be shocked if this hasn't actually been going on for many years. It's just that a lot of customers, like, I know for a fact, I never complained to the customer service line. Yeah, I didn't realize until I saw that post. So look, I think it is great that they're on the front foot about this. And, you know, like, it sounds like they're doing all of the right things with the consumer testing, you know, checking for irritation, all of this kind of stuff. That's all great. For the time being, I am going to be not using my Rom&nd lip tints, but I'm happy on the one hand that I do now have an answer for why, because I could never figure it out. I honestly just put it down to, well, my skin reacts to everything. Why wouldn't it react to something on my lips? Like, it was the first time I'd ever had that, but it didn't immediately link to anything in my mind. You know, like, I'm very cautious about patch testing all of my products. And I know, you know, pretty well what kind of sets me off and the things that I normally need to avoid. But cheilitis isn't the kind of thing that you can patch test for. You can't sort of patch test it on your lips and see what happens. It's like, you're either going to get it or you're not going to get it. So look, a personal victim of this one, I fear, but it has been causing a lot of headwaves in the industry. A lot of people, particularly in Korean language platforms, are talking about this. So yeah, like, I feel bad. I recommend this product to everyone. And little did I know that it was causing me my own issues. But it sounds like they've got a plan in action. So look, I'm not going to write them off. I think I'm just going to hold off on using my lip tints for the rest of the year, and let's see what happens in 2026. At least this time, everyone will be on the front foot with it. And if you get any lip irritation, dryness, or cheilitis, hopefully we will be able to figure that out really quickly. But a lot of people in my TikTok were saying that, you know, oh my God, this just like literally caused a cascade of issues from there. And I'm like, yeah, same. Like, I literally could not get rid of it for pretty much the better part of a year and a half, honestly. It felt like every time I got rid of it, it'd crop back up again. Once I knew what medication I needed for it, I could clear it up fairly quickly, but it did cause a lot of issues for me. So there you go. Now, the next thing that was in the news, and this is a little bit old now just because we've had a lot of stuff going on over the summer, our refill packs were actually featured in Cosmetics Design Asia. So when we launched our, sort of to rewind back, so from the middle of last year, so 2024 till now, we've actually launched a total of 4 refill and travel packs. We've got 2 for our serums, 1 for our toner, formula. And this year we released one for our bubble tea steam cream, which is our hero bestseller product. It launched in 2020. Since then, it's sold out 6 times. And it was the product that people just come back for again and again. Like, what we noticed was people would come through, they'd sweep through and buy like 3 at once, 6 at once. Like, we get a lot of comments on that product, people saying like, oh my God, like, I'm so scared if you guys ever stop making this, like, it's my favorite moisturizer. And, you know, we had a lot of feedback from our warehouse and whatnot that, you know, when you're packing 6 of them, it's quite bulky. And that kind of got us to thinking, well, what about if we gave people a refill option? You know, it's not only a lot better for the environment because they're so much flatter, they're so much thinner, they weigh so much less when you're, you know, carting them around. They use a lot less single-use plastic than the jars, and that makes them perfect for travel as well. Well, the other thing we hadn't really realized that customers actually put us onto, so our refill packs, if you haven't seen them, a lot of people do like pods and things like that that kind of sit in the original jar. We decided to do pouches, and they do have a tiny little plastic lid on them, but basically it's just a screw top clicky lid. And what our customers are telling us is, when I go on holidays, I just take that because I can reseal it. So I'm not going with all my jars. I'm just taking the refill packs, packing them flat in my luggage, and, you know, be done with it. And we were like, that's actually perfect. So we were having this conversation with Cosmetics Design Asia, and they sort of did a feature on this. So that was, they were essentially just talking about this. And the other interesting stat for ours, when they were asking me, they were like, well, what's the uptake rate on this? Because, you know, customer adoption for refill packs is really low in the industry, you know, in the single digits. And when we ran the stats, we were shocked. Ours is 40% of our bubble tea steam cream sales are from the refill packs alone, which is crazy. But that product does have a really, really high repurchase rate, which is the reason we introduced it. But the uptake of the refills is also really surprising. So on the back of that, we've already decided that we're going to do a refill pack for our cherry blossom sleeping mask, because that's 90 grams. So, you know, if you have a refill pack, you can just refill it. And we're going to make that basically one of the key focuses for our brand going forward. So we've got a few packaging changes in the works as well for 3 of our products to actually make them even easier to refill. And we're going to increase the size as well so that you need to refill less often, and it is just more sustainable because you're not constantly buying these, you know, tiny little jars of things. So that was, a really interesting experience for us, I guess. I mean, it's always a gamble. It doesn't even matter if it's the same formula as a product you've already launched. If you're launching it in a different format rather, like that, it is always a bit of a gamble. So we were really, really happy to see that it was so high, and that's why Cosmetics Design Asia thought that was worth talking about. So the other thing that happened when I was back in Australia, so I was in Sydney for a week, and 2 days before I was due to leave Sydney, I actually got an email from someone at ABC News, and they were saying that someone had given them the recommendation to reach out to me for a story they were doing about the growth of Korean beauty in Australia. And he was like, you know, do you want to come on the news? And I was like, what are the chances that I'm in Australia the week you're doing this story? Like, that is just crazy. Like, I'll definitely do it. And the headline to that, when it appeared on the news, so it was actually on the nightly news, it was on the 7:30 news, and they also did a news article about it as well. Australians are now the second highest per capita spenders on Korean beauty products, just behind Korea itself, which is a statistic that honestly blows my mind. So what that basically means is when it's adjusted for the population, so obviously the population of Australia, not that big, but when you're looking at how much each person in that country spends, we are the second highest, Australians rather, are the second highest per capita spenders on Korean beauty products, even more than Americans. So I was interviewed, obviously, about my experience living overseas in Korea and all that sort of stuff. But one of the things that I shared was just how dramatically things have shifted since I first started introducing Korean skincare to Australian customers. And what I was saying, that some of this didn't make the cut, obviously, because they have a lot of stuff to edit. Like, we filmed for hours and then the whole segment was like maybe 4 or 5 minutes. So a lot of stuff got cut. But what I was saying was, back then, we're talking early 2010s, there was a lot of hesitation and even skepticism. People questioned the quality of the products, if they didn't come from, Australia. And like I said, we just don't see that anymore. Customers today trust Korean formulations. A lot of people are actively seeking them out. One of the podcasts I listen to, which is like an Australian podcast that has a bunch of Australian women talking, and even the host was talking about walking into Korean beauty stores and they didn't really know what they were looking at, but they're buying stuff. I'm like, they are not the kind of people that would have been buying Korean beauty products even 5 years ago, let alone 10 years ago. So that is crazy, and really, really impressive. So I was asked a couple of questions around the role of regulation and authenticity. I think because, that's the one thing that always comes up. Well, how are these products even regulated? Is it just a free-for-all? So one of the things that surprised a lot of Australians when I used to tell them this is Korea actually banned animal testing before Australia did in cosmetics. So it was actually law in Korea a few years before it became law in Australia, even though the cruelty-free movement by that stage was fairly well established. Korea actually beat Australia for that one. So a lot of people were really what, really? I'm like, yes, yes, it's a whole thing. Regulation, I've spoken many times that I actually do think the MFDS does a really good job in keeping brands accountable, checking for false advertising, monitoring product safety, and in terms of counterfeiting, a lot of brands actually do use lots of different systems, including barcodes, QR codes, registration systems, scanning stuff to give consumers peace of mind that what they're buying is genuine. I mean, the thing is, counterfeiting is not just a problem in Korean beauty. It is a global beauty industry problem. So I don't think there are any specific concerns around that, more so than you would see for other global beauty brands, to be honest. I mean, Korea has some very highly duped products, yes, but I think you'll find if you swam around in the murky waters of some of those online marketplaces that there are many fakes doing the rounds. I don't know if I've shared this on the show before, but I bought a Tosawung product from one of the marketplaces when I was overseas one time. I just wanted to try it out. When it arrived, it was 100% fake. It was some rubbish from some bootleg factory in a country that I'm not going to say, but we can all kind of guess where. And I was just like, what the hell? On the brand page as well, Anyway, that was a bit shocking to me. I was like, I can finally see why so many people are online asking, did I get a fake product? And as soon as I saw it, I was like, come on, this is not even a good fake. You guys are not even trying. But essentially the feature, the ABC News piece, was really just highlighting how Australian demand is pushing retailers to expand their K-beauty ranges. And I think that that's obviously very, very true. Now, whether it's a true expansion, what I've noticed more is a lot of stores all stocking the same stuff. And when I was speaking with some people at the K-Beauty Expo in Korea who were from Australia, they kind of told me where they were starting with their range. And I was like, okay, but everyone's doing that stuff. Don't you want to branch out and do some stuff that not everybody is doing? But I think that's probably a logical place to start for a lot of people. It's less risky. If they've seen it all over social media, they're like, look, that's a safe bet. So I think that it will be good to see where the category grows. But it's definitely, I think, from the Australian perspective, no longer seen as niche. Now, I'm not saying that everyone's necessarily tried it, but I don't think that it is anywhere near in the same category as it was, even 10 years ago. So that was a very, very interesting conversation. I was really happy to have that chat. So yeah, that's kind of rounding out our news segment for this episode. I also had a question of the week come through from a new podcast listener who is going through the archives, listening back to our old episodes, and she was asking, do you have any recommendations for dry hands, fading stretch marks, or any hair care? So for dry hands, I actually think the Dr. Jart Ceramide hand cream is quite nice. It's very thick but fast absorbing, so that's just an easy one that I can recommend. So for stretch marks, I will start off by saying that there are different treatment options that can help them. Tretinoin, so can actually be good for early stretch marks, which is a prescription in most cases. Obviously, talk to your doctor or pharmacist about it, depending on where you're located. And then, there are over-the-counter creams and whatnot. You've got professional treatments as well. Things like laser therapy and microneedling can sometimes help with stimulating collagen and correcting the pigment. Microneedling helps with improving the texture and tone. It really sort of depends how old they are as well. The general rule with scars is the older they are, the more stubborn they are, the harder they are to treat. So back when I had my acne scarring as a teenager, which was, a very long time ago now, but the way of thinking about scars and when to treat them was quite different, particularly if you were on some of the medication like Accutane and whatnot. And that thinking has completely changed now. And, they even say that you can get laser while you're on Accutane and drugs like that. So a lot of the thinking about scars and how to treat them and when to treat them and when to intervene has really changed. So if there's one thing I can say is if you are worried about any sort of scars, stretch marks, anything like that, go and see someone sooner rather than later, because there are different treatment options depending on how young or old they are. Another product that is quite nice that I enjoy, it's not a miracle in a jar or anything, but the Atopalm maternity care stretch mark cream. It's in a pink tube. That one might be worth looking into as well. Now, in terms of hair care, I think obviously there are a lot of bougie options on the market, but if you are going for something a little bit sort of more budget friendly, that's also very accessible, I think that Shiseido, which is not a Korean beauty brand, they are Japanese, their Tsubaki and Fino lines honestly are quite good value for money. I think I've spoken before, I actually really, really rate Japanese hair care. I think they have a lot of really nice products. If you are specifically interested in Korean hair care and what's trending and hot in the Korean market, I did a whole episode on it and I will link that in the show notes. I know people are really getting into their Korean hair care as well, so hopefully there are some good recommendations in there. Now, on to my own K-beauty product recommendations for this episode. I wanted to chat through some makeup fixes. So a little bit of context and background to this. Before summer, I ran out of my Charlotte Tilbury makeup fixing thing, and that one took me forever to get through because I just wasn't really wearing a whole lot of makeup last year. I had a newborn. I was just not really focused on makeup, so that one took me a long time to get through. And when I had finally used it all up, I sort of did a call out and asked people what should I try next? And one of my good friends actually recommended me a Korean one. She's like, look, Anya, it is not as good as the Charlotte Tilbury, or it's not in the same category. It's not a luxury product, but if you're just looking for something that will do the job, try the So Natural, which is a Korean one, all day tight makeup setting fixer, General Mist. It's a mouthful. I'll have a link to it. And I was like, sure, why not? Tried it. Oh my God, it was value for money. I couldn't fault that. Having come straight from the Charlotte Tilbury to that, I was like, this is great. Why do people spend all that money on Charlotte Tilbury? This is really good. I found it excellent for summer. I think it'd be a good fit for oilier skin types. It's not one of those ones that gives you the dewy, misty look that a lot of people associate with Korean beauty typically. It is more similar to a typical Western makeup fixing style product. I love it. The only bummer about it is that it is in one of those aerosol spray cans, so you can't travel with it, which is kind of annoying because they won't let you put it in your luggage. So that's the only downside of that one. The other one that I tried out that was recommended to me was the Jongsemul Essential Mule Microfitting Mist, and that I would say is a great option for dry skin types types. I'm wearing it today, and I have quite dry skin at the moment because I'm having a massive rosacea flare, and my skin is just not really happy with me. So that one I think is a good option. I don't think, if I'm brutally honest, I don't think it sets the makeup as well as the So Natural one. But I think if you are really dry and you do need that extra hydration, that is probably the one that I would go with. It is not in an aerosol too, so you can travel with that. That's the only other reason I think that that is a good one. So 2 there, one good all-rounder and for oilier skin types, and then the Jongsenmul, if you do like that sort of more traditional Korean style finish, hopefully you will enjoy those ones. So they are my recommendations for products. Now, the other thing I wanted to share with you, my recommendation for this week, I have been fielding DMs left, right and center for people asking to what clinic should I go to in Korea? What's the best clinic? Rah, 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 rah. Now, I'll let you in on a little secret, and that's not really a secret, and that is that it is actually illegal to film those videos you see where people are like, come with me to a Korean skincare clinic or plastic surgery clinic and get all these procedures. In almost all cases, that is a contravention of Korea's medical services regulations and the Medical Services Act. I will put the exact piece of legislation. If you're into all of that, you want to go into it, I will link it in the show notes below, because I know we do have some people who like to look at all of that sort of stuff. But long story really short, there are very specific conditions in which people can show you a medical procedure like that, the clinic name and all of this kind of thing, and in most of the cases it's actually illegal. A lot of people do it, I know, but it is technically illegal, and if you get dobbed in, you can get into trouble. So a lot of clinics try and get around it by recruiting foreigners. Now, if you're a foreigner living in Korea, I would not try. You just, it's not worth it. It's not legal. Unless they have gotten permission in advance from an agency. There are even limitations on where you can post these kind of advertisements. And in most cases, TikTok and Instagram is not one of them. So that's just a PSA if you're listening and you are a foreigner in Korea. Just be careful, particularly if you have, teachers that you work with that might want to dob you in, or other people that you know, just be careful. You never know. It's like violating immigration law. You never know who's watching, right? But clinic matching kind of questions, I'm getting a lot of them. And there's a limit to the amount of time that I have to sort of answer all of those. So I thought, you know what, why don't we, for people that are serious about it and are actually going to go and use the recommendations, why don't we offer a very short, simple matching service, 15 minutes, and basically you tell us exactly what you are looking for and we will match you with a clinic that we know, like, and trust. It's not we're getting a kickback and we are recommending you to someone that's going to overcharge you and we're going to scoop that off the end. That is not what is happening here. We are recommending you to places that we know will give you clear, honest, treatments that are going to actually be able to do what you want, that can deal with everything from rosacea like I have, acne scars, pigmentation, anti-aging, all of that kind of stuff. You'll basically walk away with a list of vetted clinic options, realistic expectations. This is not, though, like a full concierge service. So if you're wanting everything done for you, if you're wanting someone to book the appointments, translate at the appointments, this is not going to be for you. This is more for people that are looking for a steer in the right direction. And like I said, the reason is just that I'm getting too many DMs and I spend all this time going into them, and then I get distracted from other things, and half the time the people don't even say thank you, they just bounce out, and I'm like, oh God, why did I waste all that time doing that? So I thought, for people that are serious, if you're actually, a lot of times people are like, oh yeah, one day I might go, like, if you can let me know. And I'm like, okay, if you're serious about it and you actually do want recommendations, not some hidden ad or someone selling you something, these are actually just clinics that I would take my friends to, that I take my family to when they're in town, that I take like people that I actually know and like. That's what I'm going to introduce you to. It's not the ones that everyone is talking about on TikTok, because the other thing about TikTok and social media, have a think about it. If these clinics were worth their weight, Why would they be resorting to hiring random foreigners to promote their services online? If they were actually good, they would have a line around the corner of people from Korea that are going there. My dermatologist, who I use, has a 2-week waiting list. If you call and say, I want to get in next week, he's like, no can do. All right, that is the standard for people that are actually good. So anyone that you see like randomly, promoting those kind of clinics, I would just be skeptical is all I'm saying. I'm not dissing any particular clinics. Again, I've never been to any of those kind of clinics, so I couldn't even comment. But I do just always tell people to be a little bit careful, because it's a country where people take that kind of thing very, very seriously. People that are, popular by rumor, they're booked out. And a lot of the good people are doing like one-on-one services. It's not like a factory with lines of people at the door. It's you sitting down with the dermatologist or whatever, one-on-one, and him or her looking at your skin and giving you the advice. It's not like you lined up with a whole bunch of other people. So if that sounds like you, if that's something that you're on your way to Korea, you want to know, and a lot of people come to me particularly when they have an actual skin concern. They're like, hey, Lauren, I know you have rosacea. I also have rosacea. Where should I go? I don't just want an aesthetic treatment. I want someone that's actually going to have a look at it. If that's you, then I will pop a link for our clinic matching consult in the show notes as well. I just thought that is going to be a much easier way to streamline this, because I do love helping people out. Don't get me wrong, I absolutely do. I am very busy, right? I run 2 businesses. I do this podcast when I get a chance. I have kids. I've got a lot going on. So if you're serious about it, I would love to help you. That's basically where I've landed with it. It's just, I'm going to have to put some guardrails around it, because I need to maintain some time for myself as well. All right, that is all I had planned for today's episode. I hope you enjoyed it. We covered a lot. We covered Rom&nd's plans and what they're planning on doing with their lip tints since they've had this issue, refills that actually make travel a little bit easier, Australia's K-beauty boom. I am going to link everything in the show notes, including my makeup fixer pics. That is pretty much where we've landed. If you liked today's episode, if you learned something new, I would love a quick rating or review. That goes a long way. If you have a question of the week that you would like answered on the show, please do send that in. Otherwise, I will see you in the next episode.